Thanks so much. I'm here joined by Vince Mercogliano, who covers the Rangers for Aloha.com and USA Today. And Vince, obviously, one of the things we talked about, before this game is the kid line, but it was actually the veterans who stepped up when it comes to the goals. Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider. What did you see differently from them in this game 3?
Well, what was interesting to start the game was Gerard Gallant had kept the same lines for pretty much the whole playoffs up until this point. Today, to start the game in an effort to generate more offense, because as you touched on, some of those top guys really weren't producing, he shook things up. And to do that, he separated the kid line and basically put one kid on each of the first 3 lines. So that meant Alexis Lafreniere was playing with Artemi Panarin and Ryan Strome. It meant that Capo Caco was staying on the third line with Andrew Kopp and Frank Vetrano. And it meant that Philip Hedl, who usually plays center, moved to the right wing to go up and play with Mika and Kreider. That line, to me, was the best line for the Rangers tonight. They really pushed the pace. Kreider and Zibanejad get chances to score and convert. Hedl had quite a few chances. The rest of the lines I thought were maybe a little bit shaky, and what we saw later on in the game was Gallant went back to the original combinations because he felt that gave them a better defensive chance to hold on to the lead once they got it.
And one of the reasons why they were able to be in this game is because of the man, the myth, the legend, Igor Shesterkin. He was absolutely fantastic on this night. What did you see from him? I mean, at this point, you really can't be surprised by what he does, can you?
No, you're definitely not surprised by it. And let's be honest, Chris, I didn't think that they played all that much better than they did in Carolina. And if you look at the number of shots that they gave up, they gave up 44 shots today. They had given up 48 shots combined in the first 2 games. So in a lot of ways, you could say it was a worse defensive effort. Igor was the guy who kept them in it. He made 18 saves in the first period, really stood tall when they needed him to. Chris Kreider said after the game, he makes saves that are hard. He makes them look easy. So it doesn't necessarily wow you, but it's just because he's in such great position, and they trust him so much. So this, to me, was a game that in a lot of ways he stole. I thought Carolina was coming in waves for long stretches of this game. I thought Carolina looked like the better team, but Igor was the better goalie. And we know if they're going to win this series, they're going to need performances like that from him.
Absolutely. And in the third period, a lot of the fans were on edge, because we didn't know it was a 1-goal game. How did you like the way the Rangers closed out compared to or opposed to what they did in game 1 when they weren't able to?
I thought they did a better job of not just sitting back. It wasn't great, but it was better for sure. They did a really good job of killing a penalty in the third period, which I thought gave them some momentum. And they did shut down the shot total a little bit in that third period. So going back to those familiar lines, the lines that had played pretty good defense in the first 2 games, I think turned out to be a pretty smart move from Gerard Gallant to protect the lead. But you're still wondering, are they going to have enough offense to hang with Carolina? Because if Igor doesn't have this kind of effort, it feels like the Rangers still aren't generating quite enough, and that's why you see him playing around with those line combinations. But they were able to finish this one, and they got a huge win, because if they lost this game, Chris, it would have been hard to see them pulling this series out, but now they've made it competitive again.
Yeah, and so we'll see if the Rangers are able to tie the game up at 2 games apiece. Vince Mercogliano, thanks so much for the insight, man.